Tori, the show has begun. What's up, colleagues? What's up, coworkers? Welcome to Friends from Work. Tori, dig in the new frames, my darling dear.
Thank you. How is everybody doing?
Good. What are you eating? The day that your microphone is ready, you're not standing and running around. Thank you, Brandon. Yes, hit that like button. It really helps the show. Tori, while you're hitting the like button, Tori will finish her food.
We had the chicken salad chick on. Have you ever heard of that woman?
No.
She makes a lot of chicken salad.
That sounds
Anywho,
like it's code for something like,
I know.
look, if you're going out on a Friday night, just go to her house. She makes a lot of chicken salad. Will really get your night going.
She deals in chicken salad. Anyway, she brought us all this extra chicken salad and it came with a lot of crackers.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was eating crackers.
I feel like I wasn't in my 40s until I understood how important your cracker game needs to be when you're having friends over. Because I look at the crackers to see, like, if I'm doing charcuterie, are we going to do just cheese? Are we doing cheese and a little salami on this? Like, what the deal, bro? And you need to have a cracker that either complements or acts as really just a plate for for the actual meat and cheese.
That can support.
I want a nice bland cracker if I got good charcuterie. I don't want to taste like all wheat then if I pay for some effing prosciutto. You smell me?
I do smell you. And sometimes I like a water cracker.
Tori, everybody's loving your hair and we must address it. Your hair looks fantastic. You should be getting out of the General Lee with that hat. You look very Daisy Duke with it.
I put two pieces of tape-ins here. Wait,
don't ruin the illusion for us.
Just one. Yeah. Just one. And it gave it a little bit more volume. And then I got it blonded.
You look like the sexy nerd that's on like those shows like NCIS that have a weird following where you just type, like they're just like, we need coordinates for the downtown Jefferson building. All right. We think they're trafficking kids out of there. And then you're like,
goes, detective, they're in Langley.
Yeah, that's exactly how it goes. And you're never in any other scenes. But after the show is off the air, you just go to comic book conventions and nerds that are half hard through their Miami Dolphin shorts are like, can you sign this for me? Yeah, look, everybody's got a little weird. Did you ever have a little weird crush on anybody on a show?
Steve
and colleagues,
Gutenberg.
I need to hear. Okay, yeah, Steve's a good one. Yeah, colleagues, did y'all ever have like a weird crush on anybody? I'm trying to think, because I've always liked older women. So I think like who the first woman that I really was like, when I was a young guy, I was like, I don't know, she's giving me the tinglies, was Sandra from a show called 227. I think it was a spinoff of the Jeffersons, but it was a woman that played their maid in the Jeffersons. It was like a show that doesn't exist anymore about just regular people, like working class folks. And her husband looked like one of those dogs that have to get their eyelids cut. What do you call those? They have all the skin flab. You know those
Basset
dogs.
Hound?
Yes.
A Basset Hound?
Yes, his name was Lester. It had a young Regina King was the daughter who went on to lots of fame. But yeah, the kind of sassy, sexy neighbor was a woman named Sandra, and she would just, because she'd be like, "Ooh, Mary," and like I just thought, like I was like, "Oh, who's this older woman?" I kind of like that, but I like Mona. I like Mona from what was that? What was she on?
Who's the Boss? Speaking of Who's the Boss, Michael Dean says his first crush was Tony Danza from Who's the Boss. Someone else says Sean Cassidy. Guy. Someone said I love Noah Wiley when he was in the ER. Agreed. Ooh. I also really liked Will Wheaton from Star Trek.
Oh, a lot of people liked Will Wheaton from Star Trek. Was that Next Generation? Was that?
Yeah, Next Generation only. I'm a Picard fan, so that was what that was. But yeah, and then
and thank you, Regina. 227 with Marla Gibbs. Yes. Regina, do you know who played Calvin? I can't remember. Calvin was like Regina King's little love interest, but it was like one of those shows from the late 80s, early 90s where it's just like one set, there was just the living room and people came in and out. Yeah.
I really like Jonathan Brandis, rest his soul, from Sequest. Michael Dean also says he had a thing for Captain Picard.
So yeah, because it's the older person. He was very distinguished. And Slapshot says Harrison Ford for me is Han Solo. I feel like Han Solo probably showed a lot of women that they kind of like stoic men that just we're never bothered by anything. It's like, we got 4 fighters on our tail. He's like, well, and then he has some quippy line, I'm staring at your tail, and then they just take off or something. Like he had that kind of vibe to him, like, we got this. And I think a lot of people are like, I want a partner like that.
Remember when he's like, she's like, I love you, and he goes, Thank you, Regina.
Oh yeah, instead of saying I love you too, I actually was listening to a Star Wars podcast because I'm that kind of nerd, and the guy said that him and his wife have that on the inside of their wedding rings. I love you.
I love that.
Side, and the other side says I know.
I love that. I just want to get to W. Says Barbara Eden. Of course, we know her as the genie. I Dream of Jeannie.
Oh yeah.
And there was something about her living in that bottle that was somewhat.
Tori, it was her boobs. Okay. She was okay. You can get into. Do you think that men were attracted to the aesthetics inside the bottle? Let me tell you something. We didn't even notice she was in a bottle until you said something.
Oh my God. So funny when you have your super duper crush. I also like Michael J. Fox from Family Ties. That was a big one.
He was really good. All right. Well, Tori, I also have can you have a disdain crush on somebody? And I think this person is starting to build up a disdain crush, and that would be on Kai Trump. You know, we saw her in the news a couple weeks ago because she was a golfer, but she wants to really relate to her fans, who we have a struggling economy, and you want to make sure that your fans know you have a ton of money and you're going to go to the most expensive place to show them what it's like to not be them. So here we go, Tori.
It's bad.
Store, pretty much out there. Everything's crazy expensive. So we're going to get my favorite stuff, even supplements, whatever it may be. And then we're going to go home and try it out.
Let me know if you guys have any questions on the prices or anything, okay?
Well, how much is quarters? The Haley Beaver smoothie? Oh my God.
They really laid out the red carpet for you.
Secret Service.
I'm gonna go bankrupt with this stuff. I need to file for bankruptcy.
So
your
funny.
Grandpa did.
Yeah, just like Grandpa did 6 times. Yes, Tori, a lot of people were not feeling the fact that Secret Service was sent out to make sure that she got to the most expensive grocery store and just bought stuff and was like, this is so expensive. Now I'm going to go home and try it. Who's this channel for?
People who live in Jupiter, Florida. It's you know what I mean? It's for the rich, yachty people. But again, really not speaking to the everyday person.
Well, Tori, I before we get started with our stories, I try and get stories for you and Michael Dean that I feel like will relate to what you're going to say. And you said something really interesting right there. You were talking about relating to the everyday person. And quite frankly, Kristi Noem did not. So she was replaced with an everyman. His name is Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne, one word. And, instead of Kristi Noem flying around on her flying bang mattress, Mark Wayne Mullen, who does stand on a box when he talks because he is a smaller man. Short king season. I found a couple videos I think you might find interesting. So let's find out who Mark Wayne Mullen is.
We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Stop it.
Is that your solution every problem?
No, sit down.
Oh, you're a clown.
Sit down.
Okay.
You're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay. Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond?
And what was we ranked in reading and math in 1979?
That's my favorite.
What was we ranked nationally in math and reading in 1979?
We were very, very low on the totem.
So, Tori, do you know what we was ranked?
What was we rated? Do you know what we was on reading?
Well, I will tell you, his state of Oklahoma was ranked 49th out of 50 states. So right. I can tell you. And so that did you like him trying to fight the president of the Teamsters, or did you like the Linda McMahon? Which one's yours?
I liked hearing Bernie Sanders try to calm him down and tell him to act like a senator.
You just know Bernie Sanders has all these lofty dreams. He's like, we could make this one unified nation. And then he goes there and he has to keep this guy from fighting some other man that looks like a Bond villain. Yes, Brandon, I was talking to Michael Dean before the show started. He also has a clip that's out right now, Tori, where basically a bunch of reporters have him. First of all, he's standing on the stairs to be higher than them. And they go, what's the deal with this Iran war? And he goes, it's a war, but we're going to have to deal with it. And they go, so that you admit that this is a war. And he goes, this isn't a war.
Yeah,
because he knows the White House. And then the reporter goes, you just said that. And he goes, I misspoken.
Come on, you should pass basic reading skills, language skills, just basic stuff here is what we're asking for. We're not asking for you to be a constitutional scholar like Obama or Jamie Raskin, but perhaps just know how to read, grammar, all that stuff. It's just that
Tori,
would help.
That's good. No fights in the Senate.
No fighting.
Okay, let's start there, Tori. Let's not get a little.
Brandon says he's the only congressperson without a college degree.
He does not. I told Sar that about 30 minutes ago, and her face was like, would you stop talking to me? Isn't that insane? Apparently, Michael Dean said that he inherited a huge plumbing business from his father, quickly got stitched up in some kind of, scheme or shadiness. And now he is the head of our Department of Homeland Security. So there's that. All right, Tori, before we get to our main story, the last story I had for you, because I don't want this to slip through the cracks. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time on the show. And Tori, I don't know if you saw this headline. Prison guards discussed in the cover up of Epstein's death. Colleagues, I've been trying to tell y'all I'm not talking out of my A on this stuff. This is like really going on. This is the woman that is at large, and I'll try and skim through this story really quickly, but I think it's important because, Tori, it's starting to unravel, girl. This is the woman, and it says, an inmate housed at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York told the FBI he overheard guards talking about covering up Jeffrey Epstein's death the morning he died. The federal government's online Epstein library contains a 5-page handwritten report of an FBI interview with an inmate who awoke the morning of August 10th, 2019, to a loud commotion in the Special Housing Unit, or the SHU, where he and Epstein were jailed. The videos say, breathe, breathe. He recalled officers shouting at 6:30 a.m. Then he heard an officer say, dudes, you killed that dude. A female guard replied, if he's dead, we're going to cover it up and he's going to have an alibi. My officers, the FBI note said. The inmate claimed the whole wing overheard the exchange. Later, after learning Epstein had died, he said inmates said, Miss Noel killed Jeffrey. He identified the female guard as Tova Noel, one of 2 correctional officers who were later charged with falsifying reports, so it appeared from their records that they had made the rounds that night, when they had not. The charges against her and the officer, Michael Thomas, were later dropped, but both were fired. Jeffrey Epstein's New York mugshot, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they're saying the inmate's account has not been substantiated, but it nevertheless raises questions about Epstein's in-custody death. Both the New York Medical Examiner and the U.S. FBI examiner said that this is definitely a suspicious death. This is the most important stuff right here, Tori. It says that the New York Post also reported on Saturday that Noel's bank flagged a $5,000 cash deposit she made to her Chase account on July 30th, 2019, a week after Epstein was found in his cell. So basically, and they also clocked her at 5:42 and 5:52 a.m., about 40 minutes before Epstein's death, looking up basically what's going on. Basically had the news reported that he'd been dead yet. So, Tori, we have a number of Zelle deposits. We have 2 fired officers that were also very sleepy. Tori, they were so sleepy. What do you think this is because this is worse than the fish market. This is fish factory.
Fish market. Fish market smells stinkier than the Seattle fish market on a Sunday in the summer. 5K. I agree with Jag. That was it. That's
there was a series of deposits because if you are going to bribe somebody, you don't want to just drop. Where did this prison guard get $200,000 from? So you got to kind of. So that actually tracks more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know.
I don't know anybody that I would trust that thinks that he committed suicide in the way that they're telling us. Nobody. I just, that story doesn't fit, it has all these holes. There's all these situations, the security cameras, these prison guards, the situation, the whole wing hearing it. All these things don't come up over and over and over again if it happened the way they tell us it to. And a lot of people like Adrian Lujan says he's not dead. A lot of people think, where is he? What's going on? And have we seen a picture of him dead ever? So a lot of people believe he's still living. And again, who would it take to make this happen? The highest of the highs, right? Ex-presidents, ex-princes, ex-royalty, sultans. Well, guess who was all involved in the Epstein files? Royalty, sultans, ex-presidents. So it's like the highest of the highs were there, and it's only they that could have made these things happen. But in no way, shape, or form do I believe that Epstein was like, time for me to go. Let me take 100 sheets, wrap it around myself, and wait for them to fall asleep at all. So if anyone I do want to see anyone in the chat, if you do think he died at the way they're saying it, let me know. I don't know anybody that thinks that this went down the way that they said it did. Anyone.
Yeah, Tori, I'll tell you this. This is so pervasive in our culture. This spilled over into my mother and I's Sunday conversations because, she was at first a little skeptical, and I was like, look at what you're talking about. You have in our lifetimes, easily the most important suspect in U.S. custody, more than El Chapo. And you have him in custody.
He could take a president down. He could take a whole president down.
Absolutely. So you have him in your highest security prison on the East Coast. You then have two officers that on the biggest night of their life, this is the biggest thing they'll ever do. This is the kind of story I guarded Jeffrey Epstein is the kind of story that your grandkids would tell their grandkids. This is a big deal. And you go to work on the biggest day of your life, knowing that nothing can happen to this inmate, and you fall asleep and your partner simultaneously falls asleep. And then after that, Epstein's body, because the medical examiner at the hospital said, at the prison said, in order to throw the press off, they put a dummy in one ambulance and sent it away. Yeah. And then they took the real body and took it to another. Tori, these kinds of places don't run on like, what are you feeling today, prison medical guard? There is protocol that is followed. There's stuff in books that you can go back and say, this is what I am told to do after this. This is a report I write. You don't have the kind of like leeway to be like, nah, we're going to have a prison dummy and we're going to throw the press off. Why would the medical examiner give an F about throwing the media off? The media is there all the time for celebrities that are caught up in there. So why would they feel so confident to break protocol? Would you ever, when we were on DBL, Tori, go, we're really into a story and they're telling us to break, tell Bert, our boss, I said, shut up, we're into this. And we're just going to keep going. You are an employee that would be subject to prison time if something happens to this prisoner, but yet not only did something happen to it, you're buying furniture, you buy a Range Rover, and then the medical examiner is like, I got a plan to get this is so shady and also so surely like, I guess we all just have resigned ourselves to the fact that we're not going to get the real truth until we get a new administration. So it's very poorly done. And I think maybe that's mostly surprised about.
Yeah, the cover-up's always worse. And the way that they did this was always worse. It was sloppy, it was messy, it was not done well. Again, like you said, when you thought that the revolution would come, it would be like a lot cooler and smoother, like Born
Yeah.
Supremacy. But instead it's just like the Scooby-Doo kids. Like it's just all wrong. And to be honest, we all knew as soon as he was caught like that, he wasn't making it out of there. There was no way he was going to make it out of there alive. Not with the risks that they could take, that he knows where the cameras are, where the videos are. There's no way. So something is rotten in the state of Denmark. I love you, Julia. It's a little Hamlet reference if you guys didn't know. So the whole thing reeks, and it's not done well. Just like this Iranian war where they're like, there's a war. No, there's not a war. Well, there's kind of is it a war? It's like, it's not done with any kind of finesse or thought or plan. It's just bam, bam, again. And
I
then
think
you
you're right. And Tori, you lead us right into our first story. That's why you're so good at this. Tori, Trump says that our war, not war, is almost done, not done. Hegseth says Tuesday, it's going to get even more intense. Pete Hegseth says Tuesday will bring the biggest wave of U.S. fighters and bombers yet, while Trump keeps bouncing between the war is very complete and soon, and he plans to escalate more. And Iranian officials are still vowing to fight as long as necessary. So, Tori, the burning question is, who's actually steering the ship? And what is the end game? Because Trump, remember, he said you need absolute surrender, which is almost impossible to get in a war. Absolute surrender.
Yeah. So I just listened. I saw Elizabeth Warren walked out of a closed meeting, as well as Senator Chris Murphy. And both of them were like, we have some bad news, guys. We just heard a closed meeting about this war, or whatever you want to call it. And they said no one has a clue as to what's going on. They said it is a disaster. They said this is absolutely run as if there's no point person, there's no end. And then Elizabeth Warren went on to say, we don't even know why we're in this war. Like, there was no provocation. We all agree the Ayatollah wasn't great, but for us to not have a reason to go in is, other than I'm distracting from the Epstein files, is harder of a case to make when you have actual U.S. soldiers that are dying. So I read
we just lost our 7th member.
Yeah, exactly.
Service person today. So we're up to 7. Tori, what happens when it's in double digits? What happens when it's 100?
What happens when it's 1? It's just like the sacrifice they're willing to make to protect themselves and giving up U.S. soldiers is horrific. And again, if you had to ask anybody why they're there, how long we're going to be there, there doesn't seem to be what we call a strategy. And that's what's so terrifying in this whole situation. Also, you have to declare war. There needs to be a War Powers Act. Congress put that down. So like, just like Vietnam was never a war, it was an engagement. This is all done like on the side to try and get this. And it's the sloppiest military engagement that I think I've ever seen, including Vietnam. So it's confusing. It lacks polling. By the way, 72% of people are against this. 17% are for that's incredibly low when you usually unite over a war, like you had said yesterday. So it's unpopular. There's no reason for it. And it's being run like a disaster. What else could go wrong? You know, like what else could happen?
Tori, this is a weird analogy, but just as you were talking about, like, they can't even decide if it's a war. My first thought was, if you don't declare it a war, then you are not beholden to, war
crimes,
the war crimes and the acts that, like, you can't bomb schools, you can't go after civilians.
Yes.
And, we've done that. We've bombed Iranian oil reserves. Did you see the videos of black rain falling in Iran? It was the most post-apocalyptic. It was terrifying.
The sun didn't come out. I think it was last week. The sun never came out due to the oil refinery bombings and how polluted the sky was. The Iranians never saw the sun for a full 24 hours. And I'd also like to say there was an Iranian school, an elementary school of girls, that was hit by a tomahawk bomb twice, once, and then 40 minutes later again. And
That's called a
everyone's
double
asking,
tap.
the double tap. And everyone asked Hegseth, and he was like, we don't know. We're waiting for the investigation. Well, this morning, Trump went on and said, we think that the Iranians hit it themselves. And a fantastic reporter, it's on my Instagram, was like, you were the only person saying this with the intelligence. Even your Department of War, Hegseth, was shaking his head when you said it on the plane. Why do you think the Iranians would tomahawk their own buildings? And he said, well, I don't know what happened. I guess, well, I'm hearing things, I'm hearing opinions, and I'm just saying it until we hear the investigation. So yeah, we're already bombing schools filled with children that were killed. So Adrian, I disagree with you that the Iranians blew up their own school. The New York Times has an entire section on the tomahawks and that they came definitely from the United States. And I trust them more than the guy who lies about absolutely everything. So
wow, Tori, I didn't know that. Do you see what we just posted?
140 service members have been injured in Iran war. Yeah. And it'll climb and it will climb because there's no goal and there's no plan and there's no strategy. And that's called danger. That's dangerous. Right. So we are headed for
Tori, just to put like a point on this, what you're saying is not only so accurate, but it's also highlighting the problem with the war being directionless. Is if somebody starts to come up with a plan, even if it's an exit strategy, guess what you just did? You just own this war. That's why nobody because there is a great chance that anybody involved in this will be brought up, at least internationally, on war crimes. And so who wants to take ownership of that? Do we want to have the Tory Shulman exit plan? Because guess what? When this unpopular war rages on because we cannot get out of it, or it escalates where more and more countries are caught up in it, it'll be like, well, Tory Shulman, her plan didn't work. And you're like, I didn't even want this. Nobody wants to get anywhere close to this.
Congress,
and that's why we want,
Congress unilaterally does not want to get involved. I do want to show you guys this. It says videos show U.S. Tomahawk hitting naval base beside an Iranian school. And they talk about the destruction of the elementary school. They have video, they have shots from it. So we're already lying. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like we're already starting to be like, maybe it was the Iranians. Like this isn't going to work when you've already lied so many times. Like we can only
maybe Renee Good was a terrorist along with
Alex, exactly.
Yeah,
it's just like that.
It's just like we are at a place, Tori, where you assume that what your government is saying is not only, we accept a little political twisting because we know this is just kind of how it rolls with politics, but that it is a flat out lie that they bombed themselves. The double tap, colleagues, is so heinous because what it is intended to do is after a missile has hit your child's school and parents are running up there trying to save people in the rubble, they come back 40 minutes later so they can get the paramedics and the parents and the onlookers. I just don't have the words to, you think about the generational anger that will be felt towards this country righteously over things like this.
By the way, not only from our enemies, but from our allies, from both.
Which, I mean, this has been
ruined our reputation for both.
It's over.
Yeah, exactly.
How could it not be?
Yeah.
We've not backed. We've totally taken every opportunity that we could to embarrass the UN, including when the escalator wasn't working, and Trump made a huge BFD about that. We've openly kind of challenged Canada to the point where they have started to practice defending themselves in the long shot that we would ever invade them.
Canada.
Canada. Yeah. Canada. Who doesn't like Canada? Have you been to Montreal? It's an amazing city in the summer.
Delight.
In the summer. Yeah. Because I did the Montreal Comedy Festival and I talked to these people on that elevator one time. I was like, this place is beautiful. Why don't more people live here? And she was like, you don't know our winters. I guess the winters are bad, but in the summertime, you can't beat it. Vancouver, Toronto. Yeah. And we're ready to send troops that way. And we're also talking about sending troops to Mexico. We already have boots on the ground in Ecuador. We're starving out Cuba, and we're barely helping the Ukraine. And we also are in a.
And someone else said that Trump was on the phone with Putin discussing the war strategy. So instead of discussing it with our military strategists, he's going to Russia, which, by the way, this war is helping. So it's like all of this is for gain. Trump doesn't do things if it's not quid pro quo. He doesn't partake in them. And so this is going to it's just it's a military disaster is what it is. And so we're stuck. We're stuck now.
We are stuck. And you know who else is stuck, Tori? It's us. We're stuck at the pump because gas prices are super high. Super, super, super high. And Trump says it's just a little glitch. And then he says, ask my niece. The Secret Service weren't complaining. We filled those black SUVs up to take her to Erdogan. So you get your Erdogan. Is that a place in Lord of the Rings?
I think so.
Yeah. So clearly I have not been in there. Yeah. So Tori, when you first of all, how does the Red Hot Mama do on gas? This is your Mercedes you got from your mom.
Yes. It did pretty poorly the last time I filled up and I saw that. What's interesting to me is that Trump doesn't have any sentences that he's got memorized to say. He just is like, yeah, I guess, people are going to die, or yeah, the gas is definitely going to go up for a little bit. We had planned for that. We had thought it's like, there's not even a good excuse being made. There's no effort to even excuse it, which is insulting to so many other people. So the one thing I always say Democrats and Republicans get along with always is that they love dogs and they hate high gas prices. So I don't know who he's winning over with this as soon as the midterms that keep coming up. So, not good anywhere. This is a lose for everybody.
Yeah. And it's going to, I don't see any situation in which they're going to be able to get these gas prices down because, there have been some people that have speculated that, China gets a lot of their oil from Iran. They said that they saw this coming. They also got oil from Venezuela. And a lot of people are saying as a kind of proxy fight against China, we went and took over their oil production, even though we can't really access their oil because I guess it's a certain kind of crude that we can't really use, but China can. So we went after Venezuela. Then now all of a sudden we're going after their other oil reserve, which is Iran. So, I'm interested to see how long this will last because I think that this is as much an attack on China as it is on its own citizens, which I don't think this country considers a lot anyway.
I agree with that.
All right. Well, Tori, we definitely have to talk about the SAVE Act. Do you know what that is? And can you tell the colleagues real quick, girl?
So the SAVE Act is basically, by the way, it passed in the House. It failed in the Senate. And that's because a lot of you called your senators, which I'm very proud of you for doing. The SAVE Act is what they're trying to do as a voter ID act. And they're trying to pass that across, which is popular with a lot of Americans, that there's a voter ID at the polls. However, if you are educated enough to read further and you look at the fine print, you need certain documents to match your name so that any woman that's changed her last name for her husband or her partner or wife or husband will not be able to vote. So that counts out about 25.
I'm listening.
Also, if you don't have your actual birth certificate or you don't have a passport, which many people can't afford, because I think it's about $165 to get a passport, you also don't have a right to vote. So it
also takes a long time to get a passport.
It really does. So apparently it will knock out 25% of Americans that are legal citizens from actually voting. And some say that this need of a passport and stuff, which is expensive, is called a poll tax, which we have abolished and said this is unconstitutional. And the last thing I'll say is this is trying to federalize or nationalize the vote. Again, Article 1 in the Constitution clearly states the votes will be handled by the states themselves or even by counties. It's not done by the federal government at all. So it's very, very scary. They also are saying they want ICE around the polls, which is also known as intimidation and illegal. But they're doing everything they can to curb the Democrats from getting that midterm. They're going to try everything, including starting a war no one wanted or asked for, so that there's some cyber, like you said, cyber security attack or something. But the midterms will be questioned because of the illegals who voted because they didn't pass the SAVE Act. I want to say this too. If it did pass the Senate and Trump signs it, they do have enough votes to block and reverse that going backwards. So everyone is very aware of how unconstitutional this whole thing is. But unfortunately, the House certainly did pass it. So if you read the fine print, it's quite dangerous, quite dangerous.
Well, Tori, let me ask you this: if they did, let's say, well, first of all, let me ask you, because Trump says he's not passing anything unless the SAVE Act passes. So what could that mean? I mean, how would he use that to his advantage?
So he stalls. And this is what they did to Obama. Whatever Mitch McConnell said, whatever bill comes from Obama or is supported by Obama followers, we will not even look at. So this is the stall. And it's very possible to do in DC. You can absolutely stop legislation from happening. Because remember, if it passes the House, it passes the Senate. The president himself has to sign it. So if he says, I'm not signing anything into the SAVE Act, nothing gets passed. And that's a strategy. It's like a 3-year-old who's like, I'm not doing bath time, but it is something that he can do. And it will hold up tons and tons of issues that are super necessary that need to be passed. But this is his trump card. No pun intended. This is his leverage.
I thought only Nicki Minaj got that. Remember her embarrassing gold card she got? It's like, oh, Nicki.
Oh man.
Yeah,
so
accepted nowhere.
All Trump is thinking about is midterms. The vote. But yeah, it's Let
me ask you a doomsday question. Let's say they do somehow get a hold of like Iran tampered with our voting. We have to nationalize it. And of course, they're like, guess what? We run 90% to 10. Who knew? What do you think the people will do? We always talk about these politicians, but these are just sad men and women that, are wrestling with a number of personal and mental health issues. What do you think the people, the regular people, will do if all of a sudden the last right that they really have, which is the right to vote, isn't just tampered with, but is effectively eradicated due to some BS last-second measures? They've tried. Not only is there already, the Electoral College, there's gerrymandering, there's, all these laws around polling stations. They've done everything to keep people from voting. A lot of countries, it's a day off, so you can exercise your right. Not here.
Which it should be.
Right. And all of them have failed. The people turn out. What do you think happens when the people turn out and they're still like, bad news, guys? You voted Trump in for 9 more consecutive terms.
Well, you can't. There's a term limit amendment. So literally the House and the Senate would not approve of that election process. But there's 2 things that could happen now. One, violence. I mean, we talk about the French Revolution. What happened? There was a dictator and he was saying, let them eat bread. And it was so awful that they rioted. They had built barricades and they fought and they got into the French government and they took it down. I mean, that's you could go the violent route. Or there's a theory in DC that people do a general strike if this situation happens. So you know how nurses have really gotten the strikes down? They know that if you get rid of your nurses, the hospital is in chaos, and they usually get a lot of what they're asking for. It would be a negotiation strategy that the entire workforce goes on strike and nothing gets done in any part of America. Maintenance, traffic, air controllers. I mean, everybody goes on strike until this is fixed and their constituents make a plan and the senators agree. That's why there's 3 branches of government, so that if one tries to take over, you have Congress to protect and you have the Supreme Court. So that's the 2 other branches would have to come in and deny and take over and produce a 25th Amendment situation or do something like that. But that's A real issue is, do we go violent and do we fight back because they have, or do we do a full on, I'm not doing anything at all, and this country literally collapses because of that? Those are the two that I've seen written about that would happen. But I also want to mention Arizona, other kind of swing states, Pennsylvania, they have voting enforcement that says we are prepared for plan A, plan B, and plan Trump. And if there is a plan Trump, we have local law enforcement ready. So this could turn out to be a battle of actual violence at the polls, but they are prepared for that, knowing all this foreshadowing. So it's going to be ugly. It's going to be really ugly, because what Trump wants, he's like a bulldog, and he wants this vote to not look legitimate. And he wants to intimidate, and he wants to take out the amount of people. And it's going to take the will of the people to fight back. I mean, it really is. It's going to be the U.S. v. Trump. I mean, that's really what it'll be.
Yeah, and I mean, this paramilitary that he's assembled in the form of ICE, at first I was like, well, they might not fight that hard, because remember we did that story a couple weeks back that they weren't being paid. But I think a great motivator for ICE, and Steve Bannon said it himself, he was like, hey, if you guys don't prevent people from voting, guess who's going to jail? You guys definitely all are. So
he said,
that's
I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
And
I know someone wrote,
found a lot of these ICE people, and we know where they are, and like they will face backlash, and that might be some reason that a lot of these escaped neo-Nazis are in the streets. They are armed, and you know they
we didn't
really
think that could happen.
They have nothing to lose, and so it is very scary. What were you going to say?
Sorry, Falk Koff said, it's so cute that you think we're never going to vote again. I think it's so cute that people thought I was overreacting in November of 2016. Like, I think it's not cute. We see a pattern. We recognize patterns of what's going on. We hear people saying there shouldn't be a vote. We hear Bannon saying he's going to get a third term. No one's making this up. No one's trying to create this. This is so evident from Project 2025 to it being written out that they don't want the vote to go the way a voting election, an election should. So it's not cute. I'm just reading data. I'm just listening. My eyes are seeing what I'm seeing, and I'm realizing, oh, we've started a war. We've, all these distractions so that we can have a problem with the votes. And it happened in 2020. I mean, it's not like it hasn't happened before. He said that whole thing was rigged. He still thinks it was rigged, or says it was rigged.
We just raided the Fulton County voting register. Like, don't forget that happened as well. I mean, there was so much. Yeah, there was so much going on. But this is a really scary time, and I think it's a time that really, for as much as everybody wants to kind of talk like they know what's going on, no one knows what's going to come next. Well, maybe Trump's sons know what's coming next, because Tori, they're getting deeper into the drone business. Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., the two saddest sons in America. What would a hug and a hand on the shoulder saying I'm proud of you have done for these two broken men? Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. He tried so hard. And Jared is clearly the son that Trump wants. Ivanka is clearly the daughter that Trump wants in a number of ways. And
poor Tiffany. Tiffany was talked about being aborted on Howard Stern. I mean, Trump has no love for Tiffany.
Yeah, he replaced Tiffany with Kai. He's like always in a golf cart with her, and Tiffany's just like, can I go? Okay. Yeah. Eric and Donald Trump Jr. are tied to Powerus. Power US, that's all one word. Powerus and other drone-related companies, just as the administration pushes domestic drone production and bans foreign-made drone components. So interesting. And it opens up the door for more Pentagon competition. Burning question, is this just savvy investing, or does it look like the first family's business interests line up with the war and government contracts that are going on? I'm leaning coincidence.
I think it's just a coincidence. No, I mean, you talk about, you want to talk about insider trading in Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm a Democrat. I love Nancy Pelosi, but you have to bring up Pelosi's track record. She made millions from insider trading in Congress. This is the same thing. They have insider knowledge. They have knowledge beforehand. They go ahead and say, this is going to be big. This is the next industry. Put all your money into it and make $1 gazillion. And that's how he works. It's a quid pro quo. What's this? I'll get that. So not surprising. I think they think this war will be won by drones. And they think that will be the big money maker. So
right.
I'm not.
Well, I mean, you see what's happening right now as it pertains to Iran. We're getting we were definitely caught off guard, I think, by how effective the small drones have been in the fight against the almighty US, because what we've been using is interceptor missiles. Interceptor missiles cost about $1 million. The drones that the Iranians are using cost about 50,000. And what I was seeing, which is a really interesting tactic, is that's why you're seeing like places like Dubai and places in Turkey hit, is because they can just send these drones, and they're not all armed. Some are armed with missiles, other with explosives, others aren't. But guess what, Tori? You got to take one of your big fancy $1 million US missiles and try and shoot down a $50,000 drone. And this isn't a video game. Remember the game Duck Hunt? You don't bat 1,000. So yeah, you got to put the gun right up against the TV to hit it. So we usually send $3 or $4 million missiles to take out a drone that costs $50,000 that might not even have an explosive on it. And guess what? We're running out of missiles because we had to give these to other places like the Ukraine and Dubai to protect themselves against possible drone attacks. So I think the U.S. is now realizing we got to go fight drone for drone.
Agreed.
And now Eric Trump and them are like, well, we should invest in that company.
Totally. I do want to say Elizabeth Warren also came out and said that this, I will ask you this. You might know the answer, but people in the chat, write in what you think. How much do you think the Iran war is costing us per day?
I think I know.
You think like you know the answer? Okay, I want to hear the chat.
Roughly, yeah.
Write in what you think the Iranian war is costing Americans per day. Now, I also want to remind you, we don't have enough money for healthcare. That's the situation. But how much are we paying for the Iranian? That's exactly $1 billion a day. $1 billion a day. And yet grandpa can't get his arthritis medicine because we don't have money for healthcare. That is something to be ashamed of. I mean, there's a lot to be ashamed of, but that's a big
this is the money that we took from people when we started dipping into their Social Security. This is the money that we take from people with the big beautiful bill.
$1 billion a day.
$1 billion a day.
Yeah. And for what? Why are we in the war? Someone write in the chat why we're in this war.
Tori, do you know I heard the best way to visualize $1 billion, because one of the ways they get that over on us regular people is we can't visualize it.
Yes,
do you know how to visualize it?
The second thing, like how many seconds versus how many? Yeah.
No, I heard it, which is really like visual. This person said $1 million, if you picture $100 bills filling up a suitcase, that's $1 million. Wait, what's that? $1 billion is if you take a school bus and you fill that school bus up with all of those suitcases filled with $1 million. Wow. And $1 trillion is if you take a stadium and you take all those school buses and you put it into the stadium. That's $1 trillion. But you can at least visualize like how much money we're talking about. And the fact that we're running through that over and over again, and anything else that needs, but our infrastructure, shut up.
Right. Our healthcare, shut up.
I think we're just so indoctrinated that this country is the best and the U.S. is the best, and shut up. Look at they say like go to New York and look at our subways. Those are from the 90s.
Oh my God.
Tori, you've been to Europe. I've been to Japan. You've been to Japan. Their infrastructure there, you're like, what year is it? Their trains are amazing.
They're incredible. They rethought what a train should be. I also wanted to give you this, Al. If you counted one number per second, 24 hours a day, it would take you 11.5 days to reach 1 million. Guess how long it would take you to reach 1 billion?
How long?
Guess.
But just tell me, for the love of God. 19 years.
31.5 years.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's part of the way that you can really get things over on us regular folks, because the idea of $1 billion, it is almost that Austin Powers things where you're like quad billion, like it doesn't mean anything to us.
It's too much. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I think that's why white collar crime is able to just go pretty much untouched, because if you think about how most Americans flipped out during the George Floyd protests when they're like, they're breaking windows and taking flat screens, Americans can understand kind of the value of a flat screen. But somebody like the Chrisleys that went and robbed local community banks, not physically robbed them, but like, embezzled and took money. Fraud. They're back out. And just like, we want our money back for the time we were in jail. And people are like, well, should we? It's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Maybe we should like explain that in terms of flat screens.
Yes.
So people understand how much is being taken, like that Elizabeth Holmes woman that stole all that money from Theranos. The money that white collar criminals take from this country and are like worst case scenario, they got to go to Club Fed for 9 years and have vegan ice cream. I'm surprised that people haven't risen up already, Tori, because they keep smacking us in the face with their glove. And I just wonder how long we're going to take it, because it's really frustrating.
I would 100% agree with you on that.
All right. Well, good talk. Thank you for the pregnant pause. I didn't know what was happening there.
I didn't know.
Tori, I did want to get to this because we talked about this month. Well, let's talk a little kind of fun, famous people. Travis Kelce, Tori. He's back, baby. That's right. Back for year number 14, representing Cleveland Heights Tigers, right down the street from where Baby Al was raised. Shout out to the Cleveland Heights Tigers and shout out to the Kelce family. Travis Kelce has confirmed that he is returning to Kansas City for another season, months after retirement talk last year. Now, I guess, is this like a good thing for you? Should he come back because he didn't have a great season last year? But what if he comes back and he has a worse season? Is that going to mess his legacy up? What do you think?
I mean, that's a little dirtying and muddying the waters. But I think someone that competitive, and he's like, we've seen him on the sidelines, like when something's not going right, he gets like temper tantrum angry. You know what I mean? Like throws the helmet and screams. I think someone like that doesn't want to go out in the way that he went out last year. You know what I mean? I just think that there's a real problem for an actual competitor like a Brady or someone that like lives and breathes competition. That's not the way I'm going out. And, I think he also thinks, let's be honest, there's more brand deals to be made. I mean, he could go ahead and be a movie star or whatever he wants, but I just think there's more opportunity. And I think he loves the sport. I think he really loves the sport. So I kind of predicted this. And I'm kind of happy about it. I like when I see Trav and Taylor. I like seeing Taylor at the games. I do. I think
I think everybody does. I mean, think about
I enjoy it. So
you said one time, and I thought it was so prescient when you said, this is our royal wedding. That one of our biggest football stars marrying the biggest pop star on the planet after like a courtship that like really follows every 80s movie trope. The jock, she'll never talk to me, and he like writes her his number on a friendship bracelet or whatever. It's just like and so I think a lot of people are for this. I just think that. And our colleagues are like, you guys have surprised me. I don't know, it's not surprising anymore, but like how many legit football fans we have on, in our family. And we remember how good Travis Kelce was. He wasn't like Taylor's boyfriend. He was a game changer.
Yeah.
And this is a weird thing, but as I get older, I start to notice like when things have definitely, eroded in terms of like his physical skill. I was watching a Green Bay game with Sarah last year, and they have a young tight end named Luke Musgrave. I think he's from South Carolina. He's from some tiny town, and they showed the whole town of like 40 people watching him on Monday Night Football. He is a freak athlete, and he got knocked down on the sidelines. And this is probably a 260-pound man, and he was laying flat on his back, and he did that thing that ninjas do where they hop with their legs and just stood back up. And the announcers didn't even address it. And I was like, It was the most athletic thing. He's playing an NFL game. He's already been hit. Like, he's not even fresh.
Wow.
And it just hit me like that's what a young body looks like. And Travis Kelce now, dropping passes, looking up in the stands. He's moved on. And I think a lot of like guys his age, he's doing the right thing. And he might be in the next stage. And his brother had to kind of go through it too. He kind of hemmed and hawed on whether to retire. And it's a decision that we'll all have to make because you don't know really what your life is going to look like when you've been doing this one thing since the late 80s. Like, what does every day look like for him?
And also, Al, I think what you just said brought up a really good point. It's like he was the young guy and all that. And now he has a chance to be the senior sportsman, right? Like the leader, the captain kind of feeling.
Got a little gray in his beard. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a different role for him on that team, especially that they've moved. Did they move?
Not yet. They're playing around with the idea, but they're not yet.
Okay. I thought they went to like Missouri or something like that. Anywho,
no, they're in Missouri. They would go to Kansas.
Okay. So I just think he can see himself in a new role. I think people like the Phillip Rivers, the Tom Brady show that you can play into your 40s. And I just don't think he's done. I don't think he wants to go out like that. And I can understand that. I can understand. I'm pretty competitive. Elder statesman. That's right.
That's a great word. Yeah. And I think everybody, us and all our colleagues, we're all around the same age. And I'm sure everybody, when it comes time to retirement, when you're growing up, you always see retirement as like all your friends clapping and your boss goes, here's a watch for 50 years here at GM. And you walk out and you're like, can't never see this place again. But a lot of people like what they do. Tori, if you think about, I was telling Sar the other day that one of my good friends, he saw George Carlin do stand-up like I think 3 weeks before he passed away.
Yeah.
George Burns was famously performing. All these singers are still out there. These people that love what they do. Yeah. And it's hard to walk away. So I get it. But there's a part of me that just doesn't want to see him go out as like a broken man, but broken man that goes right into Taylor Swift's arms. So cry me a river. Tori, I think we need a fun fact to get up out of here.
All right, here we go. Well, we still have 4 minutes. This isn't going to take.
Oh, do we? All right. I was trying to.
I can give you two. I'll give you two.
Well, no, let's do one more story. Tori,
okay.
What's going on over here, right? My time's going away.
Is it your computer?
I've been trying to because I now I'm ashamed of it. So I'm trying to look at my phone to judge the time. I would be like, that's a wrap. You're like, we're at 33 minutes. I'd be like, that's a wrap. It's an hour.
Like something's going wrong on
I'm not trying to get out of here. I don't know.
Something's going wrong.
Okay. So Tori, Paris Hilton launched a recovery fund that actually helps people. Paris Hilton has launched.
It actually helps people.
Yeah, I mean, but all charities are scams. Most of them.
Okay.
I feel like we talked about Cars for Kids. We know my issues with the Girl Scouts.
I know.
When you're at Macy's and when you go to make your purchase and they go, it's always some big, do you want to help local Colorado teens? And I'm like, help which teens do what? That they donate $1. Do you think that big red bell in front of Target with some woman in front of it? Like, do you think that money's going anywhere?
Well, I do want to say that, I always think the mega billion-dollar Macy's should be making the donation, not the person buying the sweatshirt.
Do you think, Doctor?
Yeah, I'm like, maybe you should do it. We don't want to do it. Like, Target, you have the money. Thank you, Julia. She just gave us $19.99 for Al's new computer. It's getting sad, Al. I mean, it's a little pathetic,
Well, I try. Okay, here's the thing. I have a beautiful Mac Mini, but I can't get the camera set up. And you know what? Thursday, I'm going to do the show from the arraignment cam. That's what I call, like when you're in the orange jumpsuit and they're like, how do you plead? Like, you're going to see the arraignment cam. You're going to see the whole room. And I don't want to hear nothing. We're going to do it. But I would just prefer that because that way I could judge things like time and distance. And I could click on clips. If you notice, there haven't been any transitions.
You would have a mouse.
It's so bad. And Sarah's here just looking over my computer. She's looking like she just saw me get turned down for homecoming. She's just like,
it's sad when you have two things.
have a friend that you can go with.
Yeah, right. My cousin. But you have two things that don't go together. And it's sad. We feel bad for you. People are donating out of their own wallet.
Yes, it is appreciated, guys. And, I'm just living it. You know what, Tori? And I realize that I'm a weird, like, nostalgic guy. I've used this equipment for so long that, like, now that it's starting to give up, it's just like I'm like an old man with a boat, and his wife is like that dang shrimping boat. And I'm like, she's fine. She just needs a little WD-40. Like, I'm just like arguing on behalf of failing equipment that I'm looking at currently.
Thank you, W. Also put 1999 for Al's situation.
That sounds like I need ED medication. The Al situation. Which, whatever. Yeah, it's
that's his
old computer, but things have never been better in my relationship.
Thank you so much for this. It's a sign to him to get his act together. So thank you guys. That's really nice.
Yeah,
really
so
nice.
You guys, yeah, that's what Sar always says, and it just like reminds me. She just goes, she'll just like mention a colleague, and she's like, Marcy just said Tori looked beautiful on the show today. Everybody's so nice. I'm like, I know, it's weird. Everybody, like, I just love our community.
They're so nice. Michael Dean says maybe your computer needs some ED medication, and it does. It doesn't power the same way.
Are you saying? But Michael Dean, this isn't a place to shame. Okay, my computer can still provide. There's other things you can do. Yeah, that's when your therapist goes, well, there's other things, and you're like, shut up, doc.
Say nothing.
We need to fix this. Yeah, say nothing. All right, so Tori, why don't you give us a fun fact and pick one that you know that me and the colleagues will like. Let's do it.
Okay, I have two, so I'll say them together.
Okay.
Are you gonna do the thing?
I'm scared to touch anything. I'll put it in post. We'll do it live.
Do. Tori's fun fact. Woo! Okay, here's the first one. Did you guys know that George Washington never knew that dinosaurs existed? They were discovered after his death.
Wow.
That's crazy to me. Here's the second one.
That is interesting.
Isn't that so? Like, he didn't even know the concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one.
That's fine. That's cool. Second one. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, our dear president, never really knew at all about, in the 60s, he didn't know about the Beatles. He died in 63 in November. They came to the United States at the Ed Sullivan Show in 64, that next year, in early next year. So JFK, just like George Washington, didn't really know about the hype of the Beatles. Isn't that weird?
That is, I mean, I think it's weirder that he was banging Marilyn Monroe.
All right, well, you took away.
I mean, just that'd be like Obama just like openly being with Beyonce and like just trying to conduct business, and you're like, what? Like, imagine what a juicy story that would be now. Like,
you're totally right.
Weird if Rihanna sat 4 chairs down from Obama, they'd be like, Obama marriage on the rocks? Is Rihanna leaving? What's his name? And it's like the president and the sexual icon of that time were hooking up.
And she
openly.
You're right. And she drunkenly sang to him in that dress and was like, yeah, that was crazy.
That led to that famous Chappelle joke where he reenacted that, and he said, you could tell on Kennedy's face, he was like, B, my wife is here. Like,
I know. Like, even Bobby Kennedy was like, cut it.
But then Bobby hooked up with her too, right?
He was banging. Bobby did too. There's rumors, but he was banging a lot of women. My favorite story is when they asked Ronan Farrow, who of course is supposed to be the son of Woody Allen and Mia Farrow, if he is in fact Frank Sinatra's son, because he looks identical to Frank Sinatra, and Mia Farrow had this explicit sexual affair with Frank Sinatra. They said, "Are you Frank Sinatra's son?" And he said, I think a lot of people can be Frank Sinatra's son. That's a good answer.
I think that's one of the weird reasons, because I think when like things like 23andMe came out, everybody's like, this is going to change the world. We're going to learn about our genetics. My mom famously found her daughter on 23andMe trying to learn about like just her health background. They were like, oh, here's the daughter you've been looking for. Right. And I think other people have not done it for that exact reason. Because I think people are like, I am 62. I had a crazy couple of years in Sarasota, Florida. And I don't know what happened, but I moved on. And, It's I mean, I think that's part of, not to get back on some serious stuff, but one of your issues that I think you should always continue to trumpet, girl, is when you say, why haven't we, run the kits, these SA kits that we have in all these medical, like, why don't we find out who's done this?
The backlog, yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think there wasn't a backlog at Maury?
No.
Maury did them joints every day.
Yeah.
So why is it taking us so long? Because we know.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of senator sons in there.
Oh, police.
There's a bunch of police.
Cops.
Yeah. We're too busy to get to this right now. Would you that Maury was 15 years ago and they were cranking them out quickly.
I agree with you. And I do think
why can't they do it here?
I agree. I do think that any politician that runs, especially on the Democratic side, Kamala made a big deal about putting money aside to release the backlog of rape kits. I 1,000% think that's a really great campaign issue that whoever is running should stand on, because half the population would support that, in my opinion. So it's just saying it's an absurd amount of rape kits that are just sitting there that could have been solved. And by the way, I do think they'll be using genetic genealogy, which has really helped solve murders and stuff, with the Nancy Guthrie case, to find out eventually what happened. But yeah, that's a whole other thing.
I think just to bring it full circle to our where we are at this gross point in history, we've seen that with the reluctant release of random pieces of paper that we call the Epstein files. They didn't put them in any way that would be coherent to people. We've already seen how many heads of industry have been touched by this. Imagine if you ran those kits, the backlog of kits. And that's why it can never happen, because if the powers that be survived this Epstein thing, which I don't know how they could, if a new government is ushered in, a government that does focus on things like, hey, let's take care of these backlogs, and the restructuring would be so great that I don't think the powers that be that have all the money, all the connections to shut down investigations, they ain't gonna let that happen.
Well, they certainly haven't. I mean, they haven't even been interviewed. I mean, Les Wexner hasn't even been interviewed. I mean, that's the first step, is just like questioning them or getting them into it. But yeah. And by the way, Representative, I think it's Shira, I might be saying that wrong, has introduced impeachment files against Pam Bondi, because they had passed the Epstein transaction law, and it said to release all the files, and she kept about 3 million files hidden. So like I said, I imagine there will be an impeachment for her, for Noam, for Stephen Miller, for Kash Patel. I think we're going to see a lot of impeachment.
Do you think Pam Bondi is going to be a good soldier and just take the bullet, the proverbial bullet, not the real bullet, and go down? Or do you think she's like, no, I'm not the only one going down for this?
I can't tell, because if he has dirt on her, then she goes down. You know what I mean?
Right, but they all have dirt. She's the one that dismissed his Trump University. She didn't investigate that. So they both have, lots of things. So, all right, Tori, now we've gone way over time. I don't even need a clock for that. But we'll talk about that, because I do want to get to the Epstein accuser on Thursday, because she said some really sad things that really absolutely track. So with that depressing note, it's not depressing. Tori's new frames. You had 2 good Tori's fun facts. So with that said, colleagues, I absolutely love y'all. I'll be doing a show tomorrow, and Tori and I will be back on Thursday. All right, Michael Dean, take us out.